This is a story about the people who labor in the fields of California. Season after season they work, often under difficult conditions, to provide the fresh produce sold at our local supermarkets. Farm workers contribute significantly to the bounty of the California harvest and economy. Yet, as they pass from county to county, from crop to crop, they remain largely invisible to the general public. Through the voices of CSUS Professor Maria Mejorado and her students, we can learn about the struggles of migrant laborers for dignity and social justice.
One of the things that I learned by working out in the fields, being the youngest of a family of 7, I had 6 brothers and myself, is that I learned teamwork. Because even though at 4 or 5, you think, what can a child do at 4 or 5 years old working out in the fields? And what I was able to do was to take a jug of water around to everyone to make sure everyone had water, take some of the other supplies that were needed there out in the fields. So I learned to be a team player. I learned that I had something to contribute even when I was that young. But once I got to be your age, 9, 10, 11, I got to do more with the family and found that I was part of a team. And that's something very important when you work and get your careers, is you don't work by yourself, you work with other people. So while it was hard, there was also a lot that I know I learned from the experience.
Just as Maria was mentioning, it was really hard because I started at the age of, I was 5 years old, and I would go with my dad and make sure that the workers were doing their job right. I'd make sure that they were picking out all the weeds, because our work was to pick out all the weeds from the tomato plants, so that way the tomatoes could grow. And it was hard, and after I was going to do work with them since I was 5 and 6 and 7 years old, and then when I was 13 I finally got to know what it was really like to work there. The first day I barely made it through. My mom had to do most of the job for me because I couldn't do all of it. And that's when I realized how much my parents worked for me to have what I have. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, I have to work so many hours for my parents to give me $20. So $20 doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're working out in the fields and it's 100 degrees and you're working, you're all covered up, it's just really hard. And now I'm just really proud of having had the experience of working in the fields and really getting to know what my parents had to go through. And that's what motivates me and what motivates other students to continue my education.
The way we would get paid is, well, you had like a little box, little 4 little squares, and you have to like fill them up with little raspberries, and you would get paid by each little box you would be filled. Like, it was like $2, $3 at that time. So me, because I was a little girl, it would take forever to fill a little box. So I would just help my mom or my grandma, my uncles and aunts, whatever. And sometimes, a little girl, I would get, like, you're not supposed to get the green ones, so I would get green ones. And whenever you go take them to that person, then I kind of like check them if there are any green ones. And then if they find green ones, you don't get paid for that little box that you had. Yeah, so it would take like 40 minutes to fill a little box. So
whenever we get out of fields, we don't look really pretty. I did not look like this when I came out. I don't look like this when I came out of the field, because our faces would be covered with bandanas right here, and to pull away our hair, and we would be covered with sweaters, and we would be wearing pants or jeans. And by the end of the day, our faces are all dirty. We are full of dirt everywhere, and sometimes we had to stop at the store to get something to eat, or we were thirsty, or we were hot, or just to get something. And when we go into the stores, people just look at you like that. They just give you like really mean and really not appreciative looks, and that just really upsets me, because these people that are looking at us like that really do not know what we went through that day. There would be some days where we wouldn't, where we had to be in our knees all day, or bending over all day, and they just don't understand. And I just simply, did whatever I had to do and got whatever I had to get from the store, and I just ignore these people, because otherwise, I wouldn't be here today.
So there's a lot of thought and talent that goes into even picking fruit.
Not not everyone can do it. Not everyone can just say, yeah, I'm going to go work tomorrow in the fields. Because we even had, a couple of years ago, I worked about 3 summers out in the fields, and there would be, you know, tough big men that would go in there at 6 o'clock, and they would be out by 9 o'clock in the morning. Not everyone can do this type of work because it's really physically demanding, and it's just, you know, you got to be able to handle the pressure and the work that we have to do. How did working in the fields really change my life, or change, you know, the person that I am today? And just, I would think that it just made me be very proud of my parents, be proud of who I am, where I come from. I'm not ashamed when people ask me, what do your parents do? They're farm workers. How much do they make, you know, a year? $24,000. I'm not ashamed of, you know, being who I am. And because I work in the fields and I experienced that, I like to go back to the migrant camp where I was raised. I lived in a migrant camp for 11 years of my life. And I like to go to the high schools and talk to students about it's possible to come to college, it's possible to get out of the fields. I like to interact with the children because I know what they're going through. And because I work in the fields, that just really motivates me to get an education and just earn lots of money, but not for myself. Earn lots of money so I can help other people that don't have the means to get out of the fields or don't know any other way. And I just think that I've become a better person. I've become more knowledgeable. I appreciate the things that I have a lot more because I worked in the fields.
Within my family, going to school was one of our priorities because, you know, going to school was a way to get us out of the field. So they wouldn't like us to miss school. But during our weekends and our summers, we were spending the time in the field because that was when we, you know, didn't go to school. So we would try to miss at least school as possible because we knew, you know, yeah, like the only way, you know, not to be in the field is to get an education, and that's what I'm doing right now as well.
So can you imagine when you were 4 or 5 years old? Working wasn't something that many of you didn't have to think about. So we had to get up very early in the morning. And working out in the fields, we didn't have the amenities that we take for granted today, such as a running toilet out in the 1960s and the 70s when I worked out in the fields. So what was hard and embarrassing when I was about your age, 10, 11, 12, was having to find a place to take care of my personal needs. And that's something I'm very thankful for Cesar Chavez about, because he was the one who made it possible, among many other things that you've all studied, the whole idea that people who work out in the fields, even though it's hard work, even though it's dirty work because you're working in the fields, in the dirt, that people had to keep their dignity. And having a bathroom is an important thing to have to keep your dignity. So while it was very hard, there were also good things to think about working out in the fields. When you treat people well, when you offer what they need, people remain loyal and they do even better work. If you treat people well, they'll do more for you than if you treat them poorly. And I think that's the bottom line.